Okay, hi class. Now we are going to start with the part 2 of the French Revolution from the history, chapter 1. So, in the last class, we have seen how the revolution began, how Louis XVI at last agreed for the constitution, and how he uh, faced the tense situation. How did the people move out of the what we say the meeting, and how did the third estate started a new national assembly, and all those things. So now we are going to start with the next thing is the four periods of the French Revolution. So now here the thing is the drafting of French Constitution completed in 1791. So National Assembly means that what we say that body or those members of the third estate. Okay. So 1791 was the year when the drafting of French Constitution was completed. So here in this we are now going to learn about the four phases, that is National Assembly, then the Legislative Assembly, then the Convention, and then the Directory. So, under National Assembly, when the drafting of French Constitution was completed, what were the things in that is the power got divided among the legislature, executive, and judiciary. And the second one was not all citizens had the right to vote. Third one was Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. And fourth is duty of state to protect the citizens' natural rights. These were the four important things. That is, when the France was becoming a constitutional monarchy, these 4 points were taken into consideration. Okay. So now next, this is National Assembly. What happened actually is from 1789 to 1791 was this era. So here uh, Louis XVI did not actually want a written constitution because he knew that when he is going to, agree for all the rules and regulations of a constitution, then he is going to face the problem because the monarchs will lose their powers. Then they will be no more able to keep this first estate, second estate, third estate, and all the problems is going to happen. So what did he do? He entered into secret negotiations with Prussia. That means without the people get knowing about this, he went into a secret negotiation with Prussia. And what was that is the neighboring countries, they got worried about the developments in France and set to prevent the reforms. But before they could do so, the National Assembly wagered war against Prussia and Austria, against the kings and aristocracies all over the Europe. National Assembly came to know that this Louis XVI is going to what we say use some military force which is going to be against the National Assembly. So the second point is the same. When news of his plan to use military force against the National Assembly reached Paris on July 14, 1789, people stormed the Basel. The picture is also there, and you can see the picture in your textbook also. If now presently you're not having the textbook, you can download it from your NCRT. Download NCRT textbook standard 9. In that you will get the textbook pages. Whenever I am taking this class, you can go through the pages so that you know, and on the same point of time you can clarify your doubts also. Or after the lecture also, whenever you are free, just go through the pages. So whenever we sit for the class and lecture, you will be able to ask me the doubt, whatever you are having. You can underline it and then ask. Okay. So here, Louis XVI, he don't want the actual written constitution. So he went into a secret negotiation with Prussia. And but when the news of this reached the National Assembly, they voted war against Prussia and Austria. Okay. The Revolutionary War caused lots and lots of loss and economic difficulties. As we know, that war always causes difficulties and loss. That was the thing what was happening here. Okay. Now uprising in Paris. Okay. Now what the thing is, people of Paris seized weapons from the Bastille, and uprising spread throughout the France. Because of all these things, there was uprising in Paris, and all these things happened. That is in July 14, 1789. Parisians organized their own government, which they called the Commune, and small groups, that the factions, competed to control the city of Paris. Okay, so remember these two words, that is commune and factions. Commune means those people who are living in Paris, that is the citizens of Paris, that is the Parisians, organized their own government, which they call the commune. That was the commune. And faction means the small groups who competed to control the city of Paris. Okay. Now, after how did the uprising spread throughout France? The nobles were attacked, and second, records of all the feudal dues and all the tax, whatever the records were there with the nobles and kings and all, that were destroyed. And many nobles, when they saw the situation that people are attacking them, they fled the country, and then they were known as the immigrants, what we say, that those who have left the country. Then Louis XVI was forced to fly the new tricolor flag of France. Okay, because he was forced. He was firstly said that he will be with the constitution with the people. Then suddenly he started with the secret negotiation with Pushkin and all. But now afterwards, again, when the National Assembly came to know about this, they stormed the Bastille, and then at last Louis XVI was forced to fly the new tricolor flag of France, and the flag looks like this. Okay, so goodbye Versailles. Goodbye, that means adieu Versailles, that is the Parisian commune. Feared that Louis XVI would have foreign troops invade France to put down the rebellion. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, okay, they were the woman who was considered the useful spender. Okay, she was sister of the Austrian emperor. And a group of women attacked Versailles on October 5, 1789, and they forced the royal family of the Bourbon royal family to relocate to Paris along with the National Assembly. And royal family spent the next several years in the Tuileries Palace as virtual prisoners. They were like virtual prisoners. Okay, they were forced to relocate to Paris. Okay, so here I have kept the picture also of that. See, this is the Tuileries Palace, Paris, France. So here where they were kept as the virtual prisoners to Louis XVI and his wife. Now the changes whatever took place under the National Assembly, they are as under abolishment of guilds and labor unions, abolition of special privileges, Constitution of 1791, Declaration of the Rights of Man, equality before the law. Many nobles left France and they were known as emigres. Reforms in local government, taxes levied based on the ability to pay. So these were the changes what came under the National Assembly. Whatever the things, whatever the problems the people were facing, all those things were abolished, and they brought new good changes in the constitution so that the people there can live happily. See, this is the whole of the National Assembly in Paris. The States General, which met in May 1798 or 1789, had adopted the National Assembly. When the mob compelled the king to move to Paris from Versailles, the assembly followed and convened in a hall near Tuileries. Tuileries means the palace. Okay. From the speaker's room at the right of the picture, the assembly was addressed at various times by the leaders of the revolution, including Lafayette and Mirabeau. The mob filled the galleries, hissing or applauding the speakers. Those who could not crowd inside stood without and were informed by signals from the windows of what was going on within. That means the people sitting over here, they call the decision and all. And here you can see the people standing over here. And those people who were standing outside, these people who were standing in the gallery, they used to signal them through this window. Through this window, they used to signal them outside what is happening inside. Now, the Declaration of the Rights of Man. What were the rights of man that were declared under the National Assembly? Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, guaranteed property rights, liberty, equality, fraternity, right of the people to create laws, and right to a fair trade. So all these freedoms and rights were given to the people under the National Assembly, which were not given to them earlier by the monarchs in the late 18th century. Whatever the problem they were facing under the monarchs, all those things were changed, and the National Assembly brought all these proper type of rights: freedom to religion, freedom of speech, which was not allowed to them, freedom of the press. They were guaranteed the property rights and right to a fair trade, which is very much important. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. There was no equality earlier. First estate, second estate, third estate was the way how they were divided. But under the National Assembly, they got their equality. They got their liberty. They got their freedom and right of the people to create the laws. Now here is the Declaration of the Rights of Women. Uh, in under the monarchs, the women were not given any type of right. That means they were not given the right to vote. They were not given the right to take part in any of the revolution. That means they cannot start any political party and all. That was the thing. So here, Declaration of the Rights of the Women were also given, that women are equal citizens and should benefit from governmental reforms just as men do. Women are also same citizens. Then why should they be abolished, or they should not be given any type of what is equal rights? It's not fair, right? So journalist Olympe J. Girls argued in her Declaration of the Rights of Women that urged in her Declaration of the Rights of Women that women are equal citizens and they should be given the benefit. Madam Jane Rowland also served as a leader in the women's rights movement and was able to heavily influence her husband, who was a government official. And women did gain some rights during the French Revolution, but these were designed for purpose other than liberating women. Women could inherit property, but only because doing so weakened feudalism and reduced wealth among the upper classes. Divorce became easier, but only to weaken the church control over the marriage. So all these types of rights were given to women. Now, end of special privileges. As we know that the privileges were given to the first estate and second estate, and according to their wealth, according to their property, according to the birth, all that came into an end. The church land were seized, they were divided, and they were sold to the poor peasants who can do farming in that, and they can, produce food, grains, and everything for the whole, everywhere, for all the people. That was a good thing what was there. Civil constitution of the clergy required that church officials be elected by the people with salaries paid by the government. Two-thirds of church officials fled the country rather than swear allegiance to this. They were said that those people, the church officials, to be elected by the people. And when this thing came, two-thirds of the church officials, they flee away. All feudal dues and titles were eradicated. All special privileges of the first and second estates were abolished. First and second estates, all the special privileges were abolished. That no paying of tax, nothing, everything. The third estate will be only doing. All these things were removed. Okay. Reforms in the local government. What were the reforms which were brought? The 30 provinces and their petty terrains were replaced with 83 new departments, and they were ruled by the elected governors. Everywhere elected. That means the people will elect the rulers. The people will see who is act for them. That was in this National Assembly. New courts with judges elected by the people again. As we know that in earlier when monarchs were there, the judges were also listening to the monarchs. In justice also were controlled by the monarchs. But here in coming under the reforms which were made by the National Assembly, new courts with judges, they were elected by the people, and the judges will only give fair trial. They will go through the case, they will go through the problem, and whatever they feel as justice, according to the witness, according to all the proofs, then only they will give the justice. They are not controlled by anybody. That was the new reform which brought in the local government. See, this picture also I've taken from your textbook only. The Constitution of 1791. Here it's showing the vote, how the people are voting for the judge, judiciary, then the executive, king and ministers, then the legislators, National Assembly, electors, control, then here also control, and here are the active citizens, the passive citizens, they don't have any writing votes. This was the thing. Okay. and women and children and youth below 25 years. All these things were, the under the what we say, National Assembly and all that, how to change this active and passive and all, how to make all the citizens equal. That was the thing. Now, Constitution of 1791, democratic features. France became a limited monarchy. King became merely the head of state. All laws were created by the legislative assembly. Feudalism was abolished. And the undemocratic features were voting was limited to taxpayers, offices were reserved for property owners, and this new government became known as the legislative assembly. Some of the undemocratic features was also there in the constitution, some of the democratic features were also there. Next is Legislative Assembly, that is from 1791 to 1792. The royal family sought help from Austria. In June 1791, they were caught trying to escape to Austria. That means those people who were kept in the palace in Paris, in France. Okay, they tried to escape to Austria, and nobles who fled the revolution lived abroad as immigrants. They hoped that with foreign help, the old regime could be restored in France. Are you understanding the meaning of the sentence? The nobles, they flee to the nearby neighboring countries and all, and the royal family was forced to live in Paris, right? But now what they were trying to do, they tried to take help from Austria, as Louis XVI was taking help from Prussia for, for bringing down the National Assembly. Same way, these nobles and the royal family also hope that with some foreign help, they can bring the old regime, they can bring the monarchs back to France by abolishing the National Assembly. Church officials wanted church lands, rights, and privileges restored. As we have seen earlier, that how the church officials, two-thirds of the church officials also stay away because it was considered that the church officials will be only elected by the people and the salaries will be given to them and the lands were given to the peasants. All these things happened, reform under the National Assembly. So the church official wanted the church land, rights, and all the privileges coming back as it was under the monarch. And some devout Catholic peasants also supported the church. Political parties representing different interests emerged, and these are some of the political parties, the Girondists and the Jacobins. Okay, and see, this is the picture. Halting the royal family at Venice. From a contemporary train, the royal family was travelled in a great coach built for the purpose. The roads were bad and the travelling carriage was heavy, but all went well until at point near Venice, the king put his head out of the window and was recognized by the likeness of his features, the profile stamped on the French coins. The men who thus discovered the royal flight jumped on the horse, dashed into Venice, and roused the citizens to stop the coach. A messenger was dispatched to Paris, and shortly after, under the escort of members of the National Assembly, the royal family was compelled to return. They were trying to move to Austria, they were trying to escape to Austria, but they were fought back and then they were compelled to return to Paris. Now, opposition to the new government. Okay, so the European monarchs feared that revolution would spread to their own country. That means when any other country is doing all type of revolutions and trying to bring independence and government in them, the other countries' monarchs also started having the fear that, oh, if France is doing all these things and if our citizens will also come to know about that, they will also start this type of revolution, then we will also lose our powers. So the European monarchs, they started fearing that the revolution would spread to their own countries also. So France was invaded by Austrian and Prussian troops. Okay, in the uproar, the Commune took control of Paris. Commune was led by Danton, a member of the Jacobin political party. Voters began electing representatives for a new convention, which would write a republican constitution for France. A republic is a government in which the people elect representatives who will create laws and rules on their behalf. As we are a republic country, right? So we are having a government which is elected by the people. Okay. And meanwhile, thousands of nobles were executed under the suspicion that they were conspirators in the foreign invasions. Okay. See again, see it carefully. voters began electing representatives for a new convention which would write a republican constitution for France. They want the republic government. They want those representatives who will be elected by them. Okay. Next is the convention from 1792 to 1795. On September 22nd, 1792, the convention met for the first time and they established the first French Republic. When? On September 22nd, 1792. Faced domestic opposition and strife. Girondists were moderates who represented the rich middle class of the provinces, and Jacobins led by Marat, Danton, and Robespierre represented workers. Faced opposition from abroad. Austria, England, Holland, Prussia, Sardinia, and Spain formed a coalition invading the France. Abolishment of the monarchy. Okay, the thing which they wanted, that the monarchy has to be abolished. The convention abolished the monarchy. As long as the royal family lived, the monarchy could be restored. But the royal couple on trial for treason, convictions were a foregone conclusion. Louis XVI was guillotined on January 21st, 1793. Marie Antoinette was guillotined on October 16, 1793. Daughter Marie Therese was allowed to go to Vienna in 1795. She could not become queen because of Salic law, which did not allow females to succeed to the throne. Son Louis Charles, that is Louis XVII, lived from 1785 to 1795, was beaten and mistreated until he died in prison. Okay, that means all the royal family came to an end there. Now, if the royal family has come to an end, how can they try to restore monarchy? They cannot restore monarchy. The king is not there, the queen is not there, the daughter cannot be, she cannot be a success to the throne, and then the son was also not there. So here there comes an end to the monarchy, the abolishment of the monarchy. See, here is a memorial to the king and the queen. The funeral urn with the profile of Louis XVI in the base at the left, Marie Antoinette at the right, the dauphin in the willow tree at the right margin, and the sister Madame Royale at the left of the king's head, made for sympathetic royalists by a contemporary artist. This was the thing which was given as a funeral urn to the royal family. Okay, this is the guillotine in the square before the Hotel de Ville, illustration from a contemporary newspaper. You understood what is the meaning of guillotine? So this was done to both the king and the queen. Okay. Here, this is the three most memorable Jacobins. The Jacobin club, the political party, they were Georges Danton, Maximilien Robespierre, and Jean Paul Marat. Because of the debilitating illness, Marat was eventually forced to work from home. He was assassinated in the tub while taking medicinal bath by Charlotte Corday, Girondist sympathizer, in July 1793. I just given this picture. The whole story about Marat is there in your textbook in source B. It's like a story that you can read about Marat, what he has done, how he was in political party and all the things is in there in source B. Okay. Next is growing coalition against the French. Convention drafted Frenchmen into the army to defeat the foreign coalition. These troops were led by the General Carnot. The people supported military operations because they did not want the country back under the old regime. They don't want to go back again to the monarchs. So they supported the military. Roger de Lacy wrote the Marseillaise, became the French national anthem. Please keep this in mind. This can come in your objective type question. Marseillaise, what is Marseillaise? That's the French national anthem. Inspired the troops as they were led into battle. That means that was giving an inspiration. This national anthem gave an inspiration to the troops for battle. And after 2 years, the coalition was defeated. French had gained rather than lost the territory. Reign of Terror, September 5, 1793, July 27, 1794. This is also there in your textbook. Despite military successes, the convention continued to face problems. Why? Danton and the Jacobin political party came to dominate French politics. Committee of Public Safety, headed by Danton, those accused of treason were tried by the committee's revolutionary tribunal. Approximately 15,000 people died on the guillotine. Guillotine became known as the national razor, including innovative figures like Olympe de Gauss and Madame Jeanne Roland. So this was the reign of terror. That means what the thing was, maximum limited set for wages and prices were there. Rationing of meat and bread was there. Peasants to sell grains to government at a fixed prices. Fixed prices was there, and in that price only the peasants will be selling their grains to government. Then expensive white flour, forbidden use of bread made of whole wheat. French men to be called citoyen instead of monsieur, and women to be addressed as citoyenne instead of madame, and shutting down of churches and converting them into barracks and offices. And the policies were too harsh to be followed. So all these things were done by whom? All this were done by Robespierre. Okay, these things, everything you can find in your textbook also. What all things he have done, everything is mentioned there properly. Okay. Next is Committee of Public Safety. This is just a picture which is showing the Committee of Public Safety, that the public should not face any problems where a committee is being held. This is Madame Roland on her way to execution. Okay. Then this is also a picture which I have just kept for you to see. And then comes the end of the reign of terror. That is, the members of the Grenadian political party, what did they do? They try to end the reign of terror. And how? By they took initiation by the Jacobin political party. And this opposition to the Committee of Public Safety caused many Guerrillas to be tried and executed for the treason. But eventually what happened is, even Georges Danton, who was coming under the political party, he also wanted to end the executions. So what happened is, this resulted in execution of treason. Okay, so Maximilien Robespierre became leader of the Committee of Public Safety, and he continued the executions. Convention came to blame Robespierre for the reign of terror. Because what was he doing is, rest everyone, the Jacobins, the Girondins, the George Danton, they all were trying to bring an end to the executions. But Robespierre, he was the leader of the Committee of Public Safety, and he continued these executions. And the other people came to tell him, to blame him, that please don't do so, that it's not good. Okay, so the Thermidor reaction was in July 27, 1794. The reign of terror ended. Convention sent Robespierre and other members of the Committee of Public Safety to the guillotine. Robespierre was guillotined on July 28, 1794. He was a political party personally, still he was not acting properly. He was creating all types of mess there. He was continuing with executions, that, this, and all lot of problems. There was terror everywhere. Everyone was, very much what we say. They were facing very negative effects from him, because what the main thing he was doing, he was handling the peasants and all. Means peasants can only sell grains to government at fixed prices, and these policies were very hard to follow. And the meat and bread was also rationed, and wages and prices, whatever, how much what you are doing, still there was maximum limits given to you, the wages and all type of problems. So he was making all type of mess. So what did the convention do? They brought him and his other members of the committee was brought to guillotine, and he, that is Robespierre, was guillotined on July 28, 1794. Constitution of the year, 3rd of the Republic, that is 1795. With the foreign invaders vanquished and reign of terror at an end, the convention was finally able to inaugurate its new constitution, and Constitution of the year 3 of the Republic 1795 created the directory. At last, the invaders also vanished. The reign of terror also came to an end, and the convention was finally able to inaugurate the new constitution. Okay, so this is the government and the directory, the executive, the 5 directors appointed by the legislature, lower house, upper house members, and the qualifications. What were the qualifications? The governors are defeated the Jacobins. from its constitution started that suffrage, the right to vote as well as the right to hold office were limited to property owners. All these are the government under the directive. And other party reforms passed by the convention were they adopted the metric system, they ended the debt imprisonment, they ended slavery, which was a main problem which the people used to face. That was also ended. They established a nationwide system of public education. They drew up a comprehensive system of laws, dealt with the final blow of feudalism by abolishing primogeniture. That means the system whereby the oldest son inherited all of his father's estate. That was also abolished. That means whatever the father is estate, whatever is having, it will be equally divided among the children. It's not that only the oldest son will be given the whole inheritance. So here the directly supported from corruption, poor administration. The people of France grew poorer and more frustrated with their government. Despite or perhaps because of these struggles, the French developed a strong feeling of nationalism. They were proud of their country and devoted to it. National pride was fueled by military success. It would be a military leader, Napoleon Bonaparte, coming to power through a coup d'etat, who would end the 10-year period 1789 to 1799 known as the French Revolution. Okay, so this were the problems which was facing indirectly, but still people had the feeling of nationalism. Okay, so these are some of the review questions here I have kept. Please go through these questions, understand it, go through the textbook which I have told you to download from NCERT. You can go through it. And any doubt, anything you feel, when the next section, you can of course ask me. And these questions are your homework. Try to find out the answer for it. It is like an assignment for you. So try to solve it. We will discuss this. Any doubt you can ask me in the next lecture. And this is thank you. Thank you to everyone. Have a nice day. Okay, bye.